Good morning. Man, 3 weeks, I better bring it today. Like, I've been told I expect a glory cloud, pillar of fire. So welcome to Fearless Church. Thank you for coming. If you are a visitor, we are honored you are here. We are in the first week of a new series called Don't Drink the Poison. Now, I almost called it Don't Take the Bait. And it is a series on offense and forgiveness. And I wonder if some of you have noticed that people are easily offended nowadays, right? Who would say they noticed? Like everyone? If you haven't, that tells me that you have not been online. You are not on social media, because on social media, everybody's offended. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody is right about their opinion. And offense builds into unforgiveness, which we will talk about later in the series. But it creates what the Bible calls a root of bitterness. And how many know that when you're around offended people, they're bitter. They're hard to be around, and frankly, not fun. Nobody likes hanging out with that person except offended people. So, in regards to talking about offense, I hate to ask this follow-up question, but how many would say that they have noticed that Christians can be the most offended people? Right? And I would say that the reason why Christians are the most offended, according to what I read in the Bible, what I think that as disciples of Jesus, I think that it's probably a part of our jobs, right? Like, we're supposed to be, as followers of Jesus, God calls us to point out sins, right? To gripe about something in culture, to be angry and stand up for the truth, right? In case you haven't realized, sarcasm is like one of my top spiritual gifts. In this series, Don't Drink the Poison, we are going to talk about how so many people are so easily offended, and people are walking around offended and angry. And what is our response as Christians? What are we supposed to do with all the division, with all the hate, with all the offense in our society today, right? In preparing for this series, I searched the scriptures. And in doing so, God searched my heart. He did a real healing work in me and showed me where I was easily offended. So what I want to do is, over the next few weeks, I'm going to just lay this out here. I am probably going to offend some of you. And it's my intention to point that out so that you can seek healing, and that offense doesn't turn into anger and turn into bitterness and then eventually unforgiveness. And that's why today's title is called Stop Drinking the Poison. Offense is a poison that we drink. We drink it, and with that, let's go to God in prayer. Father, thank you for taking our offense. Do a work in our heart. Do a work in our church. Thank you that we will share the goodness of Jesus in a way that will change us and change lives. And everybody said, Amen. Amen. So what I want to do to introduce this series today, and then over the next few weeks, I want to unpack it. Today I want to introduce a big thought. And it comes from the book of James. Now, James is a half-brother of Jesus. And he wrote this in James chapter 1, verse 19. And he says this, he says, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry." How are you doing with this assignment? How are you doing with this scripture? We live in a culture today, in a society today, where very few people are listening. And when they are listening, they're listening to respond. They're listening so that they can give their opinion and what their truth, and they're very quick to speak their opinions. And it says, quick to listen, slow to speak. And we're quick to speak. And we're so easily offended. And then people are so incredibly easy to get angry. We should be slow to speak, quick to listen, and slow to become angry. In fact, when you look at Jesus, this is how he lived his life. This is how Jesus lived. Because I'm a nerd at this kind of stuff, how many questions do you think Jesus was asked, recorded in the Gospels? How many total questions did people ask Jesus? 183 questions. He was directly asked 183 questions. Of those 183, how many did Jesus answer? Just 3. He only answered 3 questions directly. Now, of that 183 questions that he was asked, how many questions did he ask in return? 307. So Jesus listened, slow to speak, asked questions to engage, and slow to anger. Why? Because Jesus was incredibly focused on other people. He was slow to speak, quick to listen. Our assignment from Jesus is to be slow to speak, quick to listen, and slow to become angry. That is our assignment. And when we think of angry, I will submit that anger has been evolving over our lifetime, right? It's evolved. See, an example is the things that used to annoy me, the things that used to offend me, the things that used to make me angry, today they're kind of some of the smaller stuff, you know? Like you cut me off in traffic. I'll be driving and someone would cut me off in traffic, and all of a sudden I'm praying hemorrhoids and blessings on them. Or you text someone and you text, and then what happens? They don't respond. Or even worse, they start to respond and you see the bubbles, and then the bubbles disappear. And then they ghost you. It was the little things like that that would just really get under my skin. And these were the normal offenses. But now our offenses have evolved. They've escalated in our culture. Now we're angry at people on social media screaming from the other side. They're yelling MAGA, or they're yelling fascist, or they're yelling Trump's my president, or they're yelling he's a felon. And they're angry at both sides. They're yelling who's kneeling at the national anthem, who isn't kneeling. It's getting angry about your issue. Your issue. You know, whatever your issue is. You all have an issue. I have an issue. We all have that issue, that thing that everyone should be upset about. That thing that just really grates on our nerves, and we need to be focused on fixing this issue. And if we're Christians, we need to stand up and do this. And then we get angry. I understand there's other issues, but this issue, this is the issue that needs fixed. This is because it's my issue. And then we level up. We take it a level and we get angry at other people because they're not angry over the thing that makes us angry. And anger is evolving. And I don't know about you, but I find myself getting easily triggered, hitting thresholds, and then getting angry. And it's not pleasing to God. It's not pleasing to God. It sounds awful, but there are people out there that like to be angry. It makes them feel good. I'm not saying they like what angers them. Like, they don't like the thing that angers them, but they like the feeling that it provokes. They like being angry, and there's a part of some people that enjoy that. They enjoy that feeling, and I think that there are some people that almost, it's like they have anger groups. I know you've seen it. It's like 73 of your friends on Facebook or social media, and they're arguing about the same issue. And they're all ticked about the same issue. And then they repost things that tick them off. And it's like, yeah, truth. The soccer mom groups, they're all angry about something. The parking's not enough, or something that triggers them. Your buddies that went to school, the alumni, they're all angry about the same things. When we're angry as Christians, it's kind of about morality. It's kind of fun because we feel morally superior. We're righteous. We're in the right, and everybody is wrong. We're in the right, everybody else is wrong. They're evil, or they're an idiot, or they're an evil idiot. We're easily angered, and it's not pleasing to God. So I want to ask a question, and I want you to do a serious reflection of your heart. How effective is your anger? How effective is your anger in your life? How effective is your offense? How is your offense going for you? Is it working? Is it making you more like Jesus? Is your anger and offense pointing others to the cross? Is your anger bringing you more joy? Is your anger bringing you more peace? Is it pointing them to the life and the joy and the freedom that is found in being a son or daughter of Christ? Are they looking at you and saying, I want that? Are they looking at you when you are angry and saying, I want to be like them? Is it making you more loving? Is your offense making you more loving? Spoiler alert. It's not. Let's look at our verse again, and let's add the next verse. It says, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Why? Because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Your human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Your anger at the small offense or the major betrayal. Your anger at the opposing political view. The guy that gave you the middle finger while driving. It does not produce the righteousness that God desires. If you're like me, you may want to push back a little bit. You don't understand. My anger is righteous. My anger is righteous. That may be the case. I get angry over sin too. And you might be. But when you read the Bible and you want to live like Jesus, Jesus only got angry one time. And guess what? It wasn't against the sinners. It wasn't against the tax collectors, the prostitutes, the people that were lost. It wasn't against the harvest. It was against the church. He was angry at the religious leaders. He was angry that they had prostituted his Father's house and turned it into something that it was not. So if we're going to be like Jesus, we can't default to righteous anger, because that is not a fruit of the Spirit. Anger is not a fruit of the Spirit. Righteous anger is not a fruit of the Spirit. And Jesus only got angry one time. Let's not make that our default. Whenever we're angry at sin, it's always other people's sin, right? It's other people's sin. But we're all guilty of sin, right? Like, we're all guilty. So instead of righteous anger, wouldn't it make it kind of a self-righteous anger? Because I'm angry at your sin. I'm not really angry at my sin. My sin's okay. My sin's kind of a lower level, and your sin kind of offended me. And as Christians, it's real easy to judge their sexual sin and ignore our gluttony, or ignore our gossiping, or ignore our grumbling. Have I offended you yet? If I haven't, I'm coming for you. As followers of Jesus, we need to make a decision when we get angry. And here's the thing. We have to make a decision. Do I want to make a difference, or do I want to make a point? Or do I want to make a point? Do I want to make a difference? What do you want to make? Because you're going to make one of the two. You can make a point, and you can lose the difference that you could make, the kingdom impact that you could make. Too many people would just rather make a point because they're right, and then they lose. Jesus didn't call us to be right. He called us to be loving. Do you want to make a point, or do you want to make a difference? Now, there's a part of me, can I be honest? There's a part of me that doesn't like preaching this. Don't think for a minute that I don't have strong opinions. Don't think for a minute that I don't have political views. You know, you have to be angry and fight about injustices in the world and, you know, stuff like that, but I have really strong opinions, and don't think for a moment I don't. But I don't want my opinions to overrule my calling. I don't want my opinions to get in the way of reaching the harvest. So how do I learn to let go of anger? How do I learn to let go of offense? How do we overcome offenses? Well, I have two big thoughts. Two thoughts that will help you. Number one, lower your expectations. Lower your expectations of imperfect sinners. People sin. We are imperfect and we are fallen. And there are days as a pastor, I have too high of an expectation for people. Like for our team, I had unrealistic expectations when we first started the church. I'm like, I don't ever want somebody to call in sick. I want everybody to always be in a good mood. I want them to smile all the time, dial it to an 11. I want the worship team jumping, energetic, happy. Lower your expectations. People are people. And we have a saying, me and Amy in our house, we're like, people be peopling. They do it. Someone might not call you back. They might not show up when they say they're going to show up. They might lie to you. They might not say thank you. They might not acknowledge what you did for them. They might forget your birthday, even when it's on Facebook and it reminds them. And you remembered theirs, and you even posted on their timeline. If you don't lower your expectations, you're going to be incredibly disappointed. You're going to live incredibly disappointed. So, follow-up question, have you ever let someone down? Have you ever let someone else down? Yeah. Has someone ever let you down? Yeah. Guess what? They're people. They're imperfect. They're sinners, and sinners do sinful things. if we are always elevating our expectations and thinking everybody else will live up to our expectations, you are always going to be let down or hurt. You are always going to live in a perpetual state of offense, of anger, of being let down, of disappointment. Because if you're not Jesus, you're not perfect. We will let people down, and people will let us down. So we need to lower our expectations of imperfect sinners. And I hate to tell you this, I do, but I will eventually let you down. If you follow me, sooner or later there will be something that I say or something I do, because I'm not perfect. I'm not. The other day I called kids crackheads. And my home pastor, my pastor at home, she got on to me. She's like, I expect better. I'm like, but baby, our kids were crackheads. But see, she pointed out that some people might not get my sense of humor. So when that day comes and I let you down, promise me two things. Promise me that you will not say that God's not real. And promise me that you won't blame the church because an imperfect, sinful person let you down. Because I'm not perfect, just like you're not perfect. So, lower your expectations of people. And when you think about it, was Jesus ever really shocked by self-centeredness, people? He wasn't fazed by people's sinfulness. He was never shocked. There were a couple of times when he was shocked at the religious leaders, and he's like, you guys are so dense. But for the sinful people that realized that they needed God, he was never shocked. Like, think about Peter. Inner circle Peter. Like, Jesus, he's like, I got you, Jesus. Even when all these suckers, leave you hanging, I got you. We boys. I got you. I got your back. And what'd he do? The second Jesus needed him, in his hour of need, he lied, he betrayed Jesus, he cussed a girl out, and he abandoned him. Left him hanging. What did Jesus not do? Jesus didn't leave the church. He didn't get offended and pick up and take his ball home and go find another church, go find another group to hang out with. No. He didn't go on Facebook and rant, all people suck. He forgave Peter. And he kept on loving him. He even gave him a new assignment. He elevated Peter. He gave him a new assignment. He put more responsibility on Peter and said, take care of my sheep. So how do you get over being so easily offended? Number one, lower your expectations of people, because we're all sinners. People are going to let you down. Don't be shocked by it. Can I get the band up here? And the second thing I want to encourage you is realize that you don't have the right to be offended. You don't have that right. Say it again. You don't have the right to be offended. I would love to see a show of hands for anyone in this room that has never sinned. You've never lied. You've never cheated. You never looked lustfully at another person. You never gossiped. You never envied. You never farted in the elevator. Someone say, that's not a sin. If you're in that elevator, that's a sin. That's the unforgivable sin. So how is it that we're made right with God? Ephesians chapter 2. For it is by grace that you've been saved. Now, the grace of God through faith, and this is not from yourselves, not because you're not good, not because you're holy, not because you have it all together, and not because you went to church. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. It's because of the work that Jesus did on the cross. His goodness, His mercy, His grace. You may say, but Pastor, they lied on me. I've lied too. But no, they cheated on me. They're arrogant. I've cheated on things too. I've been arrogant. But they hurt me. I've hurt people too. I'm going to quit telling my testimony before people leave the church. At the end of the day, I need the grace of God in my life. This is a stone. It's a good shaped stone. And it makes me feel powerful to hold it in my hand, you know? Now, I don't want to minimize some of the pain, some of the betrayal. I don't want to minimize some of the hurt that some of you have endured. This is not to minimize that. This is not to marginalize your feelings. But now I know we've been talking about politics and friends being rude. And some of you are facing some really deep and significant pain. You are. You've been through a lot. Maybe someone abused one of your children or abused you. Maybe a spouse that you trusted ended up betraying you and leaving. You're facing a horrible betrayal. See, no matter what I say, whatever level it is, there tends to be the thought, I'm right and they're wrong. I'm right and they're wrong. I'm justified with my anger. And if you're not careful, your anger will irrationalize you to hold the stone. You will rationalize and you'll pick it up. And it feels good to hold in your hand in case you need it. In case you need to throw it. You hurt me. And I can hurt you right back. My anger, my offense gives me the right to hold this stone. In John chapter 8, there was a woman. She was caught in adultery. And there was an anger group of men. And they caught her in the act. And it makes me question, like, wait, I don't want to get into that, but they're all holding their stones. And they're all angry. And they're yelling, she deserves death. She sinned. The law of Moses says we need to stone her. She deserves death. Jesus wasn't shocked. He wasn't angry. And Jesus looked at him and he said, you want to right the wrongs? You want to do something right to right the wrong? You're angry? Then whoever has never sinned can throw the first stone. And then Scripture says that he knelt and he started drawing and scribbling in the sand. Now, we don't know what he scribbled. There's theologians and there's traditions, there's traditional teaching that say that possibly he scribbled their names from the oldest to the youngest and their sins from the last time, like some of their greatest sins. But tradition tells us that he was scribbling. the Bible says he was scribbling. It says in verse 9, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, until only Jesus was left standing in the middle of the crowd with the woman. And Jesus stood up and he said to the woman, "Where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you?" She said, "No, Lord." And Jesus said, "Neither do I. Go and sin no more." See, there are so many injustices in the world, and they break the heart of God. And it's easy for us to get righteously angry about that. But I would submit to you that, get this, angry people have a really hard time making a difference. Angry people, I would submit that you can't be angry and love people at the same time. You can't. You can't make a difference with the people that you're angry at. If we deal with enough anger and offense, at some point Jesus would tell you, lower your expectations of imperfect, sinful people. You don't have the right to be angry. Jesus took your offense to the cross. He took your offense. And because of the goodness of God and what you've been forgiven of, we have no right. It's time to drop your stone. Because Jesus didn't call us to be right. He called us to be loving. For some of you, guess what?